Hey girl, if this economy has you feeling stressed, scared, or mentally exhausted, this video is for you. Today, I'm sharing 6 practical tips to stay mentally strong when the money is tight and the economy ain't acting right. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's how you work it, lady.
Okay, so this economy, y'all, it really is uh, this right here. That's about where I'm at with this economy. Like, it's literally just too much. And if you're feeling the strain of this economy, you are not alone. You have people who are literally credentialed professionals who are struggling. It ain't right. But we still have to be able to function and keep ourselves together, keep our own selves together, keep our families together. So let's talk about some tips to kind of do that. Okay. So, first thing I would like to say before we even get into the 6 tips is you have to remember that the economy is its own thing in itself that does not have anything to do with you. So, I want to say that because we're hard on ourselves, right? It's like, why can't I get a job? Why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? If you are actively trying things and you are still not getting anywhere, that is due to this economy as a whole. Like, it is just a literal hot mess right now. We keep getting nothing but negative and more negative job reports, not many new jobs being created, businesses are running out of funds, other things are being defunded. So it's just a hot mess right now. So understand that a lot of what you're going through is out of all of our control. And that's why it's important that we have little things like this that can help us. Okay. So, one tip I want to give is separate financial facts from financial fear. So, right now, sometimes I see, and when I see things online and I talk to people, like, they're not only stressed out about their own situation, but they're also stressed out about like the fear of the future financial situation, right? You can only do it one day at a time in a situation like this. So do not try to, overthink it or plan too far ahead. Like, obviously you have to plan ahead. That's what 401ks are for and all of our other financial securities and things like that, right? So you do all those things. Outside of that, you cannot worry about it too much, okay? The only thing you could do is kind of start making, small little plans like, okay, let me see if I can make something from doing hair on the side. Maybe that's a skill that you had. Or let me see if I can make a little extra and just tuck a little extra aside. This is the tuck extra aside economy. Or that might just mean spending less. Okay. So that's, kind of the number one thing is to separate the financial facts from the financial fear. Like, there's always going to be some kind of financial fear. A lot of us know, things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. So you got to hold on to some of those principles, that we know and study. So just, you know, that's on that, right? Number two, um, stop the doom scrolling. Now, I am literally notorious for this. Yo, I will not only doom scroll, I will like death scroll, man. It is just like I am, and I feel like it's getting worse just because of different social medias and there's so much going on. You do want to stay in the know, but this is a habit that I am trying to kick. And that is watching endless, things about the economy and layoffs and even some of the ones where people have been sharing their experiences, like maybe they lost their job or they, were laid off or, maybe they had an unforeseen occurrence happen. Time and unforeseen occurrences are going to befall us all, right? So it's just really hard to deal with. But what I'm finding is I have to limit because I start feeling really sorry for people. Like, I'm seeing, people laid off and all these things, and I've been affected by that myself. And so I feel really bad for people. Like, I feel really bad. I saw something the other day. It was like a guy was at his job and like ate an extra cookie or something and was fired for that. And I was just like, this is horrible. And I was like really upset about it. And we all know that cute little nurse who also was online crying. Let me see her. This is her information right here. Um, I believe her name is Mackenzie. Yes, this was the full time nurse, and she has two kids. Her and her husband work full time, and they, were. She was on just saying like, "Oh my goodness, like I can't pay my bills. I'm struggling. Like this is not easy." And I felt that. And so I'm learning that although it's good to listen to other people's stories, like I need to limit it to like once or twice a week or something like that. So I'm not just constantly like getting enraged for my fellow man because I am an empath and I will go hard. Like if I see something I don't like or some form of injustice or something's not fair or people don't have what they need, like I get really upset, especially when you could tell people are honest hearted and hardworking and it's just like they're getting the short end of the stick. It's just like, come on. Now, anytime I comment on a fellow content creator, please know that I do a preliminary research. I don't like deep dive whole into like their whole life history online. So if I ever quote somebody and you're like, why would she talk about this person when they're like a flaming racist or something? If I miss something like that, y'all let me know because that's not what we about on this channel. But she was trending, so I just put it up. She checked out, to be like just a normal person. So I felt worth, it was worth sharing her 2 cents on that. So she was crying, like really upset, and it's understandable. Some people said, "Oh, well, it's nice to see some people are waking up and realizing how hard that some of us have had it." I can understand that argument too, but it's insensitive. At this more point, a lot of people are having it hard. Like people are just having it hard and anybody should be able to express that online. Yeah, and maybe this is the wake up call that some people need, that it is always been hard for some people, and maybe that can make us all a little more empathetic. So let's get into our next one. Okay, so right now we are on number 3. Okay, focus on what you can control. As I mentioned before, the economy is out of our control. Here are some things that are in your control: your spending habits to a certain degree, right? Now, this other creator, I'll share some of hers for a second. She was on here like, look, I'm gonna spend regardless like of what's going on because that's basically like her therapy. So this other girl, I think her name is Jordan Shikra. She's also a TikToker, and she basically got on her TikTok and was like, "Hey, I'ma just do me. Like, I understand, like, it's a tight economy, but at the same time, I'm still making space to like spend, money on drinks with the girls at the end of the week and like going to concerts. Hey, to each his own. However, something that could take away a little bit of your anxiety and stress around this stuff is getting control of your spending habits. In a tight economy, it is time to pinch a little bit. I love going to concerts, but now you know what I'm doing, girl. I'm having people over. Let us do our own little living room concert. Everybody got a friend that could play an instrument. Girl, you can make it real cute. Everybody bring a bottle of wine. You see, bring your bottle of wine. Girl, we could turn this into a music and poetry and art gallery up in here. Okay? You don't need a lot of space. You could keep it really cute. Put up your little dollar store decorations. And this is why I always keep like, tulle and some of the like, tablecloths and little things like that, little plastic flowers and stuff. So I can whip up something cute, even if I don't have money, to like go get new stuff. I could make something work. So that is my tip, especially for recreation. Dial back on the recreation. Try to do more creative, free things. I like taking my kids out to amusement parks, like especially water parks. Oh, yay. Those are so fun for us, girl. But, girl, ain't nobody got it right now trying to pay all that. So let me tell you what we doing. Girl, you better go old school and country, like some of us did, and get that water hose out. Let them run through the water hose, take them to the community pool, Have friends over at the pool. Not everything has to be a big extravaganza. And I love doing all the things because I didn't get to do all those little things like that as a kid. So, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, water park. Ooh. Like, I am literally in it with the kids. But I'm like, it doesn't have to be that big. Let me, like, utilize the resources that I have, which is the public pool, water hose, you know what I'm saying? If you're really in the city like that, fire hydrant, all of those things, and just make it work like that. There is a lot you can do. And when it comes to the get togethers in these hard economies, girl, tell everybody to bring something. I used to be big on like, hey, let me just you know, do it all myself. I'll do all the food. Nobody has to bring anything. Girl, in this economy, make your little list. Evite has it real nice. You do your little Evite, honey, and you put on there cookies, chips, body da da da, a veggie tray, and let everybody sign up for one item. And that way the load is shared. It's not all on you. And then you can save your money and you and your family can still be having fun. Okay. So pivoting into different things like that is going to be very helpful. Utilize places that are free to gather. Like if your place has kind of like maybe like a tavern type place or a winery or something like that that's in your region where everybody could just go have a good time and go home, and basically your meal price is also including a little entertainment. Maybe it's not like a real band, but maybe it's a local band, you know, or whoever, but they're up there playing an instrument, girl, and you could tap your foot to it, okay? So, utilizing things like that could really save a lot of money too, okay? Um, Another thing you want to focus on that's in your control is your daily routine. So sometimes in these current economic times, the mind is really feeling like out of control, right? And when you're feeling out of control, the mind is really craving for a sense of structure and control. And you can create that by kind of kicking up your daily routine, which is going to be good too, because when the economy's bad and you just can't move forward, it's depressing for us, right? But having a daily routine can really help you to feel confident. It can help you to feel connected. It can help you to feel productive, because that is another big issue with feeling out of control is not being productive. And when I'm not productive, I literally feel so bad. Like I just get so depressed about it. So that is something you can do. Now the daily routine, I'm gonna give y'all a little behind the scenes on me. That is how I survived the pandemic. Like, if you guys are my OGs and you remember back in the day, like I was uploading all of the time. I was actually getting up, guys, at 4 o'clock in the morning to do my content. 4 a.m. because I wanted to get up before my babies was up, all of that jazz. And that's how I was doing it. Okay. And then I had, other things. I took up gardening. I had a whole garden routine. I would go out every single morning and like take care of my garden, water, prune, do whatever I needed to do. That was very like centralizing. And I would do that. Then it was also exercising. I did virtual community events with a lot of you guys. I had virtual sales. We had all those Zoom parties. Other people had Zoom parties, getting out in nature, but it was all a part of a very strict daily routine. I had to get very strict during the pandemic. Honestly, I wish I could be that strict now because I've gotten out of it a lot, and my content is paying the price. But yes, girl, focus on what you can't control, and those two things are going to be your daily routine and your spending habits, okay? So get control of those. Let's go on to our number 4, which is protect your self worth from your bank account. Now, for me, it is really hard when you see that bank account and you're like, yo, this is a problem. This is an issue. It could be really, really difficult. Okay. But I want you to remember that this is not who you are. This is a snippet of a moment in time. Everybody goes through somewhat of a economic, downturn or hard time sometime in their life. Most people do. So don't let it get you down too much. Um, when it comes to the bank account, like, don't feel like because nothing's being added or maybe not as much as you want is being added that you're a failure. Like, it's a bad economy. It's just harder to make money. It's harder to keep on to money. We've already talked about those saving tips, ways to save with, spending on some of those extras that we don't really need but are nice to have, right? So then anything outside of that with your bank account, don't worry about it. This is also why I tell people when it comes to your bank account, it is always good to have other types of financial services with your bank. So that's one of the key takeaways I want you to know for this portion is don't just have a regular bank account. You need to have, a CD, some mutual funds, a investor investor's account. Anybody can open these kinds of accounts, and sometimes when I don't have that much money in my, like, income account where my check gets deposited, I look at those other accounts where I can't touch them. I can't get to them. I can't do anything with them. And I see that growth there. So I'm like, okay, I do have somewhat of an emergency fund. I do have some kind of savings. Not a lot, girl. Not a lot. But it is something. And I'm just like proud of me and proud of us, my family and you guys. Because a lot of people do have this for like being smart enough to do those things, even in a bad economy, or maybe before the calamity came, right? You set this stuff up. So that is really what you want to kind of reflect on when you're thinking about your self worth. You are not defined by your bank account. The amount of money you have in the bank does not define you. And when you can at least have that little savings that, is an investment account, you know, then you can feel like, okay, times are hard, but I am still making baby steps every day towards, a little bit of a savings, that might help me in the future. So definitely do that. What you're going to want to do for this one, girl, is go to your local bank. Every region has their own. I'll just say Bank of America. A lot of people use them, love them, hate them. We all have something bad to say about any bank. But all these banks now have almost like AI investment options where you set up the account and AI will invest the money for you. So all you do is deposit into it. You don't have to, go on E Trade every day and do all of that. You can just do it through there. Now, E Trade you can still do. You can still do crypto and all the other things if you want to do that. But at least these basic accounts through these banks, they're great. Like they're nice to have. So take advantage of the resources that your bank offers because usually if you're already banking there, you're going to have a lot already available to you just for simply banking there. And you may not have time to go open a whole brokerage account, with a huge brokerage firm. They're going to want, more money down and, they've got a lot more red tape and things like that. Versus, girl, if you've already got a bank account, if you're working, you do. Just check into the financial services and things that that bank offers and take advantage of them. Okay. Now, I want to talk about this next one a little bit because it is going to really, really hit home. Okay. You need to build again on that resilience routine, but this number 5 is going to focus on keeping yourself mentally and physically healthy. What you're going to do for this one is you're going to make sure you get as much sleep as you possibly can. 7 to 8 hours. I know that's hard to do. It's hard for me to do. Even if you get 6 to 7 on a regular, that's good. You want to regularly exercise. You want to have nutritious meals. You want to journal. You want to meditate, healthy meditation, and you want to be around supportive people and you want to keep this productivity, you're building your resilience, you want to keep this going. Now, why are we talking about exercise and nutrition when we're talking about how to stay mentally strong? during a bad economy. This is probably the most important one on the list because when you're in a bad economy, your mental health is down. Okay. Sleep, exercise, and nutritious food will actually float you. And I've seen this with myself too. Like when you exercise, because your body is releasing so many positive hormones and regulating your endocrine system, you can handle stress a lot better. I have noticed when I work out, especially when I lift weights, girl, it could be something real drastic going on. And I'm like, okay, let me think about this. Is this important right now? Like, how upset should I be about this? Versus girl, when I'm pounding those double stuffed Oreos and I ain't acting right, girl, anything go wrong, I am like at a level 10 with the anger. Like I am reactive. I'm telling people off. It's a lot easier to act right when you are eating and exercising. You might not believe me, but I dare you. Matter of fact, I double dog dare you to give it a try. You will be shocked at how much your mood improves. And so this is basically for giving yourself some fortitude and some resilience. Basically, think of doing your diet and exercise as basically keeping your mental reserves up. So when the trauma hits you from this jacked up economy, your tank is on full. So it could afford to go down a little bit without going down to empty. When you are unhealthy mentally and you're unhealthy physically, your tank goes to the bottom much faster. And there are much more severe consequences. Okay. So you want to prioritize eating healthy, getting sleep, and exercising during these bad economic times, like for real, girl. These types of routines also help to create strong minds. Okay. They really help with that. So I hope that number 5 one really sticks out to you. And again, this is something you can control. Like the other day, I was like, you know what, girl? My money's funny. And in my money, I ain't got it. But guess what? Nothing stopping me from picking up this 5 pound weight and getting my muscle on. I'm about to be healthy in this unhealthy economy. And then that gave me like a little bit of like, I got something. Sometimes you just need something, just like, oh, I got this, you know? So whatever you can do, do. It'll just make you feel better. Um, Now, the last thing you want to remember is that this is an economic cycle. There are always going to be these kind of circular changes of recessions, inflation spikes, and job market downturns. Now, we do know things will continue to get worse before they get better. You know, that's just is what it is. But know that, this year might be a tough year and the next year might get better. And, it is unfortunately circular like that. So this one is kind of hard to, I'll say, accept, but you just have to remember that nothing is permanent. Okay. Some things are very long term. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like certain things in my life, like, I'm like, why am I still dealing with this now? Why do I still have these feelings? Why am I still having this challenge like years later? So, we're not ever, some of us, going to be millionaires. We don't have to be, but just understanding that economic cycles happen and how to navigate those cycles. Like, okay, let me make sure I have, a 401k so that as this economy spikes and does what it does, because truth be told, let's say you have a 401k with, let's say you work at Target. Actually, Target ain't a good example. My bad, my bad. Let's say you work at a grocery store and your grocery store has a 401k. And when you started working that job, girl, after school, maybe it's 16, and you started a 401k then, as the economy cycles, remember those people, when you get a 401k, they're doing the investing for you. So they know professionally how to navigate those waves. That's thinking you don't have to do. So when you do that, when you have that 401k, when the money is kind of like going down, the people managing that 401k know, oh, okay, this is a good time to buy more stock. This is a good time to move this over here and do that. And they're doing that behind the scenes for you. So again, when you make smart moves like getting a 401k or a brokerage account, maybe you're self-employed, and a brokerage account is an easier option. That'll still be good. You putting in your own contributions. You're not getting the employer match, the free money, but hey, something's better than nothing. Utilize that. So again, that doing things like that help you to stay afloat in these economic cycles as they change. Then you don't have to, worry about that as much. Now, let's talk about the one other thing. I'm going to give you guys a bonus. This is just a little point 7. That's a little extra. And if you still listen to this and rocking with me, please subscribe. Please give this episode a thumbs up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I would greatly appreciate it. Um, so let me just give you number 7, and that is make sure you make time in your life for fun. Okay? Make sure you make time in your life for fun. Now, we've touched on that. Okay? We've touched on that. I gave you the tips of how to do your little affordable parties, how to DIY the fun. But here's the other thing that I want to say. Sometimes it's not even just about having a party. Sometimes it's, hey, you know what? How do I make happiness with just me, myself, and I? Maybe you don't have a family. Maybe your economic situation is so bad that, a lot of things just are not possible. I think of our friends, our brothers and sisters around the world that are dealing with even worse economic inflation. That's what it is. These other countries, they just have super bad inflation, right? So they're dealing with that. Maybe their inflation is so bad that, they can't get anything to eat at all. People are losing homes and access to running water, all due to these severe inflation spikes. So for those who are in a situation like that, sometimes you have to be able to create happiness just from yourself or things that are in your own sphere to do. So that's where, again, having the healthy routine, focusing on what you can control and not what you cannot control, and also to having some sort of hope for the future. Many of us who are, members here on the podcast, we kind of share the same hope for the future. And it's something that we look forward to. We know that everything happening now is temporary and it will get better. And so that those types of things are really what's going to keep you going in these types of bad economies. Okay. So, girls, I hope that this one helps. Okay. It is not easy out here in these streets. Keep your head up. Do not give up. Stay resilient. Focus on your mental and physical health. And I'll see you next time. Bye.